Good morning. It's Monday morning. It is March the 16th, and I'm trying something new today. I want to figure out ways to be connected to you and to our church and to the greater community during this interesting season we find ourselves in. So, many of you know we send out a daily Rooted in Christ devotional through email and through the text message as well. But a lot of times I have, because the way my brain works, it never really shuts down. I usually have a lot of different thoughts running through my head at most times. And so I thought it might be interesting for me to use social media, use YouTube and things like this to better connect with you and to maybe do some online Bible studies and devotionals and maybe do some questions and answers, things like that. Just ways to stay connected and stay plugged in with you in this season. So today I was driving around. I went and prayed with someone before surgery this morning, so I've been up for a while. I joke that I'm kind of like a barnyard animal. I go to bed at sundown and I get up before sunrise. So as I was driving around this morning drinking my coffee, I was just thinking about this age we find ourselves in and all that's happening and how um, we know intellectually that God is with us. We know that He will take care of us. We know intellectually that God never leaves nor forsakes us. But yet we often find ourselves worried in the midst of that. We often find ourselves concerned, afraid, things such as that. And so I was thinking about how often throughout church history, because remember, we're not the first Christians. That's one of the things I believe in most strongly as a believer is the fact that we're not the first people to ever walk this path. There have been billions who have gone before us, who have walked the same faithful path that we're now walking. And so we can take a great encouragement from them, take great encouragement from their faith, from their journeys, from their travels, from their words. I think there's much that we can learn from those who have gone before us. And I just think about the many who have traveled, in ages past through difficult spots. And as I was thinking about that this morning, I was thinking about one of my favorite passages is Hebrews. Hebrews is a beautiful book. It really does a great job of connecting things to the Old Testament, and we see so much Christology and so much correct teaching about Christ in Hebrews. And I love how it just ties it so much into Israel's journey and into the Old Testament. But the passage I was thinking about this morning was this is from Hebrews. Is this great passage, Hebrews 11, which is often called the Hall of Faith. It's just a collection of stories about Old Testament saints and their journeys and their life and their faith. And so there's this great passage after it talks about Abel and Enoch and Noah and then Abraham. This is Hebrews 11:13. I'll read 13 through 16, where it says this: All of these died in faith without having received the promises. But from a distance they saw and greeted them. They confessed that they were strangers and foreigners on the earth. For people who speak in this way make it clear that they are seeking a homeland. If they had been thinking of the land that they had left behind, they would have had an opportunity to return. But as it is, they desire a better country, that is, a heavenly one. Therefore, God is not ashamed to be called their God. Indeed, He has prepared a city for them. And I think I know what I love. I love that last line the most. I tell people the best sermon I ever heard in my entire life was a sermon when I was in college at a church that I don't even know if it's still open. It's Robertson Road Extension Presbyterian Church in South Jackson. And I don't remember the preacher. I don't remember anything about the church other than the sermon that he preached was on that passage there where it says, "Therefore God is not ashamed to be called their God." And think about how in the Old Testament how God's often referred to. He's often referred to as the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. God takes on the names of his followers. So for many in that region, he was the God of Israel. And if you go back and read the Old Testament, that's not always a thing that you might want to be called. Just go read about the golden calf in Exodus. Go and read about some of the ways that they failed and disappointed him. It's shocking to me that God would often take upon himself our name or the name of his people. But it says here in this passage, it says that because these individuals longed for a heavenly country, they were looking for something that was of faith, that God was then not ashamed to be called their God. Now, it says that they often had troubles and struggles and things like that. So, just because they had faith did not present those problems, did not stop those problems from coming. But they had faith. They knew that this was not their home. So they persevered in spite of challenges or troubles or things like that. And because they had this faith in God, in this heavenly country, he was not ashamed to be called their God. So today, we all find ourselves in difficult situations. Many of you parents have kids that are stuck from school. You're trying to figure out schedules and things like that. I'm a pastor. We're dealing with what this social distancing looks like for the life of the church. So pray for me and other pastors as we try to figure out how do we connect to each other at this unique time. But when we remember that this world is not our home, that we have a higher kingdom, it's gonna be okay, y'all. It's gonna be fine. We're going to have road bumps. We're going to have struggles and trials and stuff, but it's going to be fine because God is with us. He has not left nor forsaken us. He's with us. So remember your true home. Remember your true identity. And when we remember that this world is not our home, and we remember that we have a higher calling and a higher identity, in many ways, that actually makes us more faithful here. There's a great quote by Lewis that I'm going to mangle. But he says, it is only since we have stopped believing in so much in the world that's to come that we have become more unfaithful in the world that is now. The fact that I know that this world's not my home means that today, it's all good, y'all. I'm going to be hopeful. I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to be encouraging. I'm going to love. I'm going to give. I'm going to care. I'm going to serve. I'm going to do my best to be salt and light no matter where I find myself today, because I'm here for this moment, and I'm going to be faithful in this moment. I'm going to give all that I can to loving my God, loving my neighbor in this moment. But there's something better coming. So don't be afraid. Don't worry. This world may tell you to get into fear right now. Your neighbors, your social media feed may tell you to give into fear. But don't do it, because this world's not our home. We have a higher home and a higher calling. So today, rejoice. Find your identity in Christ. Live in His grace. Live in His mercy. Live in His peace. And when we live in that way, we can bring encouragement. We can bring hope to somebody else. Because there's going to be somebody in your path today, whether there's somebody living at home with you, like your spouse or your children or your parents, someone on your social media feed, someone that you can text, who will need your encouragement. And something I'm encouraging my people to do in this season is something that I was taught early in ministry. I call it the rule of three. Today, reach out to 3 people. Text 3 people. Give 3 people a phone call. Write a letter. Go old school. Write a letter. But find a way in this time to connect to 3 people at least. Let them know you love them. Let them know you're praying for them. Let them know you're there for them. Connect with them in that way. So remember, we've got a higher calling and a higher identity, a higher place that is in Christ. Don't forget that. Remember that. And when we remember that, we can do even more for the kingdom today in this moment with that knowledge in our hearts. And then we'll be just like those saints of old in the Old Testament. God will not be ashamed to be called our God. Today, think about this. God is not ashamed to be called your God. He loves you. He's there with you today and each day. I love you too. We'll try this out today. This may be a tremendous flop, and we may regret that we ever did this, but I thought this morning as I was driving around, this might be a great way to stay connected to all of you in this hour, in this moment. Message me, reach out to me if you would like to hear some specific talks about something in particular, or you have any questions. Reach out to me, message me, text me, email me, call me, come by the church. I'll be around today. But love you, but more importantly, the Lord loves you. Have a great day.